12.
In the previous lesson, you learned how to ask where something is.
Right, like トイレはどこですか?
Where is the restroom? In this lesson, you learn how to say where something is.
For example, あそこにトイレがあります。
There's a restroom over there.
We also go over the verb わかります to understand.
Right. You learn how to say I understand and I don't understand. And so on. Okay, this lesson's conversation takes place in
タクシ
a taxi. So you'll hear some useful words and phrases for taking a taxi. The conversation is between
ー、アシュリーとタクシーの運転手。
Ashley and a taxi driver. Ashley is taking a taxi to her company in
日本橋。
Nihonbashi in the morning. Because this conversation is between a taxi driver and a passenger, you'll hear
FOMO Japanese.
Please also check the verb conjugation lessons as a reference.
「どちらまで?」
日産自動車まで。
どこまでですか?
日本橋の日産自動車まで。
住所わかりますか?
はい、わかります。これです。
ああ、はい、わかりました。お客さん、日本語わかりますか?
はい、ちょっと。
日本語上手ですね。
運転手さんも上手ですね。
日本橋にいい天ぷら屋がありますよ。
本当ですか?名前わかりますか?
ちょっとわかりません。すみません。3320円です。
はい、それから領収書ください。
はい、お釣りと領収書。それから、はい、これ地図です。これ駅、これ天ぷら屋。わかります ?OK?
はい、OK です。ありがとうございました。
One time slowly.
どちらまで?
日産自動車まで。
どこまでですか?
日本橋の日産自動車まで。
住所、わかりますか?
はい、わかります。これです。
はい、わかりました。お客さん、日本語、わかりますか?
はい、ちょっと。
日本語、上手ですね。
運転手さんも上手ですね。
日本橋にいい天ぷら屋がありますよ。
本当ですか?名前わかりますか?
ちょっとわかりません。すみません。3320円です。
はい。それから領収書ください。
はい。お釣りと領収書。それから、はい。これ、地図です。これ、駅。これ、天ぷら屋。わかります。OK?
はい。OK です。ありがとうございました。
Now with the English translation.
どちらまで？
Where to?
日産自動車まで。
Nissan Automotive.
え、どこまでですか？
Eh? Where?
日本橋の日産自動車まで。
Nissan Automotive in Nihonbashi.
住所、わかりますか？
Do you know the address?
はい、わかります。これです。
Yes, I do. Here it is.
ああ、はい。わかりました。
Ah, okay. I got it.
お客さん、日本語わかりますか？
Do you understand Japanese, ma'am?
はい、ちょっと。
Yes, a little.
日本語、上手ですね。
Your Japanese is good.
運転手さんも上手ですね。
Your Japanese is good too.
日本橋にいい天ぷら屋がありますよ。
You know, there's a good tempura restaurant in Nihonbashi.
本当ですか？名前わかりますか？
Really? Do you know the name?
ああ、ちょっとわかりません。すみません。
Actually, I don't. Sorry.
3320円です。
That'll be 3,320 yen.
はい。それから、領収書ください。
Okay, and I'd like the receipt, please.
はい。お釣りと領収書。それから、
Okay, here's your change and your receipt. And
はい。これ地図です。
here's a map.
これ駅。
This is the station.
これ天ぷら屋。
This is the tempura restaurant.
わかります？ OK？
Do you understand? Okay?
はい。OK です。ありがとうございました。
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
So Ashley's company, Nessan, is located in Nihonbashi.
そうですね。It seems like it.
Nihonbashi. Nihon, Japan. Bashi, bridge. So Nihonbashi is Japan Bridge.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, there's a bridge called Nihonbashi in Nihonbashi area. Nihonbashi is a business district in Tokyo.
Now, are there any interesting tourist spots?
Well, it's a business district, so I'm not sure. But there's the Tokyo Stock Exchange, Japan Bank, and some nice department stores in Nihonbashi.
Also, tempura, good tempura restaurants, right?
Ah, yeah, sure. Tempura is deep-fried fish or vegetable. Ya means store, cellar, or restaurant.
So, tempura is a tempura restaurant.
はい、そうです。I said ya is a store or restaurant, but you can't use ya by itself.
It comes at the end. You have to tack it on to something else, right?
はい、そうです。For example, ラーメン屋。
Ramen shop or ramen place.
はい。寿司屋。
Sushi bar or sushi restaurant.
本屋。
Bookstore. And I'd like to mention one more thing.
なんでしょう What is it?
San, as in 運転手さん.
I see.
運転手 is driver, and san is like Mr. or Ms. in English, so 運転手さん is Mr. Driver. Now, Naomi-sensei, is it more common to address someone with occupation plus san?
Yeah, I think it's common and it's completely appropriate. For example, ウェイトレスさん or ウェイターさん.
Ms. Waitress or Mr. Waiter.
Yeah, I guess you don't do that in English.
No, we don't. We usually just go with the name of the occupation. But in Japan, this is completely appropriate. Okay, on to the vocabulary. First word.
住所 address 住所住所
Next.
上手 skilled, good at 上手上手
Next.
本当 really, truly, truth, reality ほんとう本当
Next.
領収書 receipt 領収
う、所。領収書。
Next.
駅、
Station.
駅。
Okay, let's have a closer look at the usage for some of the words and phrases from this lesson. Naomi-sensei, what's the first word we're going to look at?
上手。
Skilled, good at. In the dialogue, the driver said,
日本語、上手ですね。
literally, Japanese. Skillful, isn't it? Now, of course, the phrase meant your Japanese is good or you speak Japanese well. Now, quick warning for you. You'll hear this phrase all the time in Japan. If you come to Japan and you say a few phrases in Japanese, konnichiwa, domo, onegaishimasu, just a few phrases, there's a high probability a Japanese person will say this to you.
日本語、上手ですね。
Your Japanese is good. So what you have to realize, there are two types of jozu. One is an encouraging jozu.
そうですね。What they are trying to do is to communicate or maybe encourage you to speak Japanese.
So at this particular point, and of course, depending on your Japanese, it may not mean that your Japanese is good.
まあ、そうですね。Well, yeah, I think that depends. But to be honest, I don't think people say this phrase based on their observation. It's more like greeting.
Yeah. Remember, Japanese are very polite. But what was interesting was I liked Ashley's response, though.
ああ、運転手さんも上手ですね。
Meaning, your Japanese is pretty good too.
Yeah, of course he's Japanese. By the way, も in 運転手さんも means too.
As in also. There's a write-up about this particle in the lesson notes, so please check it out. Okay, Naomi-sensei, what's the next word?
どちら
Which way? Which direction? Where? Which one? In the dialogue, the driver said,
どちらまで
where to?
This どちら means where and まで means until or in this case to.
For the usage of made, please reference lessons 8 and 10.
どちら is a polite version of どこ where.
So the taxi driver could say,
どこまで
where to?
That sounds more casual.
Dochira made is more polite. For more information about dochira, please reference appendix number 9. Next we have
領収書
official receipt. Naomi-sensei, is it 領収書 or 領収書?
ああ、
Meaning, is there a short vowel at the end or a long vowel at the end? Because I've heard them both.
Yeah, good question. Both are correct. 領収書 or 領収書. It doesn't really matter. But 領収書 or 領収書 is not a regular receipt.
This is an official receipt, the type you can use for expenses on a business trip.
そうです。
What do you call a regular receipt?
レシート. Easy, right?
Very easy. Now, if you're coming to Japan on business, the type of receipt you want is
領収書 or 領収書.
the next word is
本当
really, truly, truth, reality. In the conversation, Ashley said,
本当ですか
is it true? Really?
本当
Means truth.
です
Is
か
question marking particle. So, is it true?
I use this phrase a lot, like 本当ですか But to my friends, I don't say ですか Just say 本当
A shortened version of 本当ですか? So, in a casual situation, it'll get chopped down.
Yeah, same as English, right? Really? 本当
And this is an extremely common expression.
そうですね。
On to the grammar section. Now, in this lesson, you'll learn how to describe the location of something using the word
あります。
there is, of course, to exist for inanimate things. You'll also learn how to talk about understanding using the verb
わかります。
to understand. First, let's introduce how to describe locations in Japanese. Naomi-sensei, can we have a sample sentence?
Sure. エジプトにピラミッドがあります。
There are pyramids in Egypt. The sentence is describing where the pyramids are located, right?
はい。
Let's look at the first part of the sentence.
エジプト
Egypt, the location.
に
A particle which indicates place. In this case, ni corresponds with the English in, at, or on. But there's a big difference. In English, in, at, on are prepositions. Basically, it means you put them in front of a noun. For example, in Egypt, at the station, and on the first floor.
Whereas Japanese particles are postposition, so you have to put them after the noun. For example, エジプトに
Literally, Egypt in.
駅に
Station at.
1階に
First floor on.
The word order is different.
So the first part of the sentence was
エジプトに
in Egypt. This is followed by
ピラミッドがあります。
there's a pyramid or there are pyramids. Remember, there's no plural in Japanese. Let's break down this phrase.
ピラミッド
Pyramid,
が
subject marking particle,
あります。
to exist, there is. Now, arimasu was introduced in lesson 6. So literally, pyramids exist. There's a pyramid or there are pyramids. Can you say the entire sentence one more time?
Sure. エジプトにピラミッドがあります。
Literally, Egypt in pyramids exist.
そうですね。
Of course, in English we say, there are pyramids in Egypt.
So the pattern is place に something があります。
There's a thing in place. So first you start with the location, followed by the location marking particle, ni, then the item, followed by the subject particle, ga, and end it all with
あります。
So for example, how could we say, in the lobby, there are restrooms?
ロビーにトイレがあります。
There are restrooms in the lobby. Next example,
1階にトイレがあります。
there are restrooms on the first floor. Okay? Now try to say there are restrooms at the station. At the station.
駅に
Then there are the restrooms.
トイレがあります。
Say the whole sentence, please.
駅にトイレがあります。
There are restrooms at the station. Remember, the particle ni, as in eki ni, at the station, Egypto ni, in Egypt, ikkai ni, on the first floor, stays the same. It's just that in English we have more prepositions. In, at, on. In Japanese, depending on the context, they can be covered by ni. Let's move on to the next grammar point.
The conjugation of the verb わかります to understand.
Wakarimasu means to understand. It's the polite form of wakaru and is one of the most useful verbs you'll learn in Japanese. When wakarimasu is used by itself, it means
I understand. わかります。
I understand or I know. Now, as we mentioned in previous lessons again and again, you can form a yes-no question simply by adding ka to the end of the sentence. So the expression, do you understand, would be,
わかりますか
do you understand? So when your teacher asks you,
わかりますか Do you understand?
and if you understand, you say,
はい、わかります。
yes, I understand. Now, if you don't understand, what do you say?
わかりません。
Change must to
ません。
to form the negative. Let's take a look at the conjugation. To understand is,
わかります。
now take away must, and you have,
わかり。
now attach masen to get,
わかりません。わかりません。
I don't understand. Now let's go back to the question. Do you understand?
わかりますか Do you understand?
And if you do understand, or you have the knowledge,
はい、わかります。
yes, I understand. If you don't,
いいえ、わかりません。
no, I don't understand. I don't know. Okay, let's also look at the past tense form of
わかります。
to understand. Now, when someone finishes explaining something and you want to say understand, as in you just understood something that you didn't understand, you just got it, you could say,
わかりました。
like, it's clear now. Instead of,
わかります。
wakarimashita is the past form of,
わかります。Very simple. ます becomes ました。わかりました。I understood. I think the nuance of わかりました is similar to the English I got it now or I gotcha.
when you want to say that you understand something that someone has just explained to you, as in, I see, I get it now. It's better to use the past tense, wakarimashita.
Basically, you hear わかります in the middle of the explanation or when talking about knowledge, whereas わかりました is used after the explanation.
So during the lesson, you tend to hear the teacher asking you,
わかりますか?
Do you understand? But after the explanation or after the class, you tend to hear the teacher ask,
わかりましたか?
Did you understand? Now in this lesson, we touched on conjugation. An important concept in the conjugation of Japanese verbs is the mas stem. Inside the lesson notes, there'll be a write-up on this. And we strongly recommend that you reference Verb Conjugation Lesson 6, comparing formal and informal speech. Okay, let's recap with a quiz. The quiz will be multiple choice. We'll give you a question and 3 possible answers. Your job is to guess the answer, okay? First question. Which of the following words means address, as in physical address in Japanese? A.
住所、
B.
日本語、
C.
駅。
The answer is?
A. 住所。
Nihongo is the Japanese language. Eki is a train station. Okay, next question. What does
日本語上手ですね。
mean? A. Do you speak Japanese? B. Your Japanese is good. C. Are you Japanese?
The answer is
B. Your Japanese is good.
日本語上手ですね。Your Japanese is good.
That concludes this lesson. In the next lesson, Ashley will visit the headquarters of Nissan Automobile. So you'll learn some useful business Japanese.
じゃあまた。
Listen to the entire conversation once again.
どちらまで？
日産自動車まで。
どこまでですか？
日本橋の日産自動車まで。
住所わかりますか？
はい、わかります。これです。
ああ、はい、わかりました。お客さん、日本語わかりますか？
はい、ちょっと。
日本語上手ですね。
運転手さんも上手ですね。
日本橋にいい天ぷら屋がありますよ。
本当ですか？名前わかりますか？
ちょっとわかりません。すみません。3320円です。
はい、それから領収書ください。
はい、お釣りと領収書。それから、はい、これ地図です。これ駅、これ天ぷら屋。わかります？ OK？
はい、OK です。ありがとうございました。
Practice with the review track.
住所、
Address.
住所、住所。わかります。
To understand, to know, mass form.
わかります。わかります。お客さん、
Customer, guest.
お客さん、お客さん。日本語、
Japanese.
日本語、日本語。ちょっと、
A bit.
ちょっと、ちょっと。上手、
Skilled, good at.
上手、上手。いい、
Good, nice, pleasant, fine.
いい。
Really, truly, truth. reality.
本当、ほ、ん、と、う、本当。
A suffix which means store or cellar.
や、や、や。領収書、
Receipt.
領、う、しゅ、う、書。領収書。地図、
Map.
ち、ず、地図。駅、
Station.
え、き、駅。どちら、
Where. Honorific version of どこ.
ど、ち、ら。どちら。
Lesson 13.
In the previous lesson, you learned how to say where something is, such as
ロビーにトイレがあります。
in the lobby, there are restrooms. There are restrooms in the lobby. And we also learned the usage of to understand, such as
わかりますか？
do you understand? In this lesson, you learn how to ask how something is.
How to ask how something is?
Yeah, you know, how's school? How's work? How's Japan?
ああ、はいはい。わかりました。
Ah, from last lesson, I see.
We'll also learn useful phrases to use in business situations, correct?
Right. This conversation takes place at
日産自動車。
Nissan Automobile Company Limited. Now, if you remember from the previous lessons, Ashley is a manager at Nissan Automobile in the US. In the last lesson, she was taking a taxi to the headquarters of Nissan in Nihonbashi, Japan, Tokyo, Japan. She's arrived, and now she's talking to the receptionist at the main entrance. So first you'll hear a conversation between
アシュリーと受付。Ashley and the receptionist.
and then as the last part of the conversation, Ashley will be talking to
松田部長。The manager, 松田。
Matsuda is his last name. They'll be using
Formal Japanese.
and it seems like they know each other.
そうですね。
Okay, here we go.
おはようございます。
おはようございます。9時に松田部長と約束があります。
お客様のお名前は？
ニューヨーク支社のアシュリーと申します。
申し訳ございません。もう一度お名前お願いします。
アシュリーです。
アシュリー・ジョーンズ様ですね。こちらです。どうぞ。
はい。
失礼します。アシュリー・ジョーンズ様です。
おー、アシュリーさん、久しぶり。
お久しぶりです。松田部長、お元気ですか？
元気ですよ。アシュリーさんは？
はい、おかげさまで元気です。あ、これ、どうぞ、お土産です。
ああ、すみませんね。ありがとう。で、日本はどうですか？
One time slowly.
おはようございます。
おはようございます。9時に松田部長と約束があります。
お客様のお名前は？
ニューヨーク支社のアシュリーと申します。
申し訳ございません。もう一度お名前お願いします。
アシュリーです。
アシュリー・ジョーンズ様ですね。こちらです。どうぞ。
はい。
失礼します。アシュリー・ジョーンズ様です。
おー、アシュリーさん、 久しぶり。
お久しぶりです。松田部長。お元気ですか？
元気ですよ。アシュリーさんは？
はい。おかげさまで元気です。あ、これ、どうぞ。お土産です。
ああ、すみませんね。ありがとう。で、日本はどうですか？
Now with the English translation.
おはようございます。
Good morning.
おはようございます。
Good morning.
9時に松田部長と約束があります。
I have an appointment with Mr. Matsuda at 9.
お客様のお名前は？
May I have your name?
ニューヨーク支社のアシュリーと申します。
I'm Ashley from the New York office.
申し訳ございません。もう一度お名前お願いします。
I'm sorry, can I have your name again?
アシュリーです。
Ashley.
アシュリー・ジョーンズ様ですね。
Ms. Ashley Jones, yes?
こちらです。どうぞ。
This way, please.
はい。
Yes?
失礼します。アシュリー・ジョーンズ様です。
I'm sorry to interrupt. Ashley is here.
おー、アシュリーさん、久しぶり。
Oh, Ashley. Long time no see.
お久しぶりです。松田部長、お元気ですか？
Long time no see, Mr. Matsuda. How are you?
元気ですよ。アシュリーさんは？
I'm great. And you?
はい、おかげさまで元気です。
I'm great. Thank you.
これ、どうぞ。お土産です。
Oh, and this is for you. It's a gift.
ああ、すみませんね。ありがとう。で、日本はどうですか？
Oh, thank you. So, how's Japan?
Naomi-sensei, is it common to bring gifts when you visit a company?
I'm not sure. I would say it depends on the company, the person, and of course the relationship. In this conversation, it seems like Ashley knows Mr. Matsuda very well, and they have a good relationship. So I think that's the reason Ashley brought omiyage.
Which is souvenir in Japanese.
そうです。
Can you say it one more time?
お土産、
Break it down.
おみやげ、お土産、
When you visit someone's house, you always bring
お土産。
a souvenir.
そうですね。
So if you're planning to do a homestay in Japan, we recommend that you bring a gift the first time you show up at the house.
そうですね。It doesn't have to be expensive, but if the お土産 is from your home country, then you can have something to talk about. I think it's a nice gesture.
Yeah, it's kind of like a conversation starter.
そうですね。
And when do you give the omiyage gift?
I usually give it right after I enter the house. I said souvenir is お土産, but some people just say 土産.
Really? Without the polite prefix o?
そうですね. Right. お土産 is more polite than 土産.
Speaking of the polite prefix o, I noticed Mr. Matsuda or Matsuda Bucho is using formal Japanese, but slightly less formal than Ashley.
ああ、そうですね. Right. Look at the phrase 久しぶり. Long time no see.
Mr. Matsuda said hisashiburi, but Ashley put the polite prefix o in front of it and said
お久しぶり.
long time no see.
Also look at the word 元気.
Ashley put the polite prefix o, but Mr. Matsuda didn't put o, right?
うん。
Now, from this information, you can assume that Mr. Matsuda has a higher social status than Ashley.
そうですね. Mr. Matsuda also said ありがとう, which is not even formal Japanese.
Now, in Japanese, the person who is in the higher social position can choose what level of formality they like to speak, but the person in the lower position has to use formal speech.
そうですね.
Okay, on to the vocabulary. First word.
約束、
Promise.
や、く、そ、く、約束、
Next.
部長、
Department head.
部、長、う、 部長、
Next.
元気、
Good. Fine.
げ、ん、き、元気、
Next.
死者、
Branch office.
し、しゃ、死者、
Next.
おかげさまで、
Thanks to you. Thanks for asking.
お、か、げ、さ、ま、で、おかげさまで。
Let's have a closer look at the usage for some of the words and phrases from this lesson. Naomi-sensei, what's the first word we'll look at?
約束.
Promise, appointment.
I don't think 約束 is always an appointment though. 約束 sounds very private. If there is money involved, 約束 becomes 予約.
As you learned in lesson 12, yoyaku means reservation. So if you're talking about a reservation at a hotel or restaurant, that's
予約. But you can use 予約 for doctor's appointment too.
so if you have to pay money for time or space, that's yoyaku.
はい。
If not, yakusoku. In the dialogue, Ashley said,
約束があります.
I have an appointment. Now, if you want to specify who you have an appointment with, say the person's name and add to, the particle to, which means and or with.
ピーターさんと約束があります.
With Peter, I have an appointment. I have an appointment with Peter.
松田さんと約束があります.
With Mr. or Ms. Matsuda, I have an appointment. Or I have an appointment with Mr. or Ms. Matsuda.
そうです.
Okay, what's the next phrase?
申し訳ございません.
I'm very sorry. It's a very formal way to apologize. Now, sumimasen means I'm sorry, and it's usually good enough. However, when you're speaking to your boss or a client and you make a serious mistake, you really should use
申し訳ございません.
it's a long sentence, so Naomi-sensei, shall we break it down?
Sure. The first part is 申し訳.
Now, what does this part mean?
Well, 申し訳 basically means said excuse.
As in spoken.
はい。
The following part is,
ございません.
and it means there isn't. So, 申し訳ございません literally means there's no excuse. There's nothing that can be said.
そうですね. Right. Because I feel so guilty or maybe I can't even think of any excuse.
I'm deeply sorry. We're deeply sorry. Please accept my apologies. Naomi-sensei, can we hear the whole phrase one more time?
申し訳ございません.
Remember to hold the first part. The first part is a long vowel. Moshiwake. Okay, on to the next phrase.
失礼します.
Please excuse me. I'm sorry to interrupt. Now, this phrase is often said when entering or leaving a room. This phrase has two words, right?
そうです. Correct. 失礼
Be rude, discourteous,
and します.
to do. So literally, I do discourtesy. I'll be rude. I'll be bothering you. So the closest translation would be, excuse me, right?
はい.
Can we hear the phrase again?
失礼します.
Now, sumimasen also means excuse me. So we can say sumimasen and shitsurei shimasu. But Naomi-sensei, are they interchangeable?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, what do we have next?
と申します. As in, アシュリーと申します.
I'm Ashley. Name plus,
と申します.
and it's a very formal way to introduce yourself. If it's a regular situation, Ashley might say,
アシュリーです.
but in a very formal situation, in a business situation, she put
と申します
instead of,
です. So in the dialogue, she said, アシュリーと申します.
to is called a quotation particle. In this case, it marks the end of what's said, and moshimasu means to say or to be called. It's a very humble expression, so literally it means I'm called such and such.
So the pattern here is name plus と申します.
Extremely polite and ideal for business situations.
そうですね.
So in my case, it would be Peter Gerante to moshimasu.
Of course, you can put the company name.
So in the case of Naomi,
イノベーティブランゲージの神戸直美と申します.
on to the grammar section. In this grammar section, you'll learn two things. One, how to greet someone that you haven't seen for a long time.
Basically, you'll learn how to say, "It's been a long time" in Japanese.
Two, how to ask how something is, how to ask about the condition or state.
Like, how's school, how's work, and so on.
Let's start with, it's been a long time. Naomi-sensei, how do you say that phrase in Japanese?
To a friend, I say, 久しぶり.
Break it down by syllable.
ひさしぶり. 久しぶり.
Now, this is the most basic form. You can use this phrase in addition to meeting somebody.
ああ、そうですね, sure. Like you haven't eaten chocolate for a long time and you eat it. Then you say, ああ、チョコレート、久しぶり.
I haven't had chocolate in a while.
そうですね.
Now, hisashiburi is an informal expression. If you want to be more polite, you have to add
です at the end. 久しぶりです.
So we started with hisashiburi, which is it's been a long time, informal. To increase the politeness level, we added
です
tacked des on at the end to get.
久しぶりです.
Now, to make it more polite, we can attach the polite prefix o and get.
お久しぶりです.
This is even more polite. Naomi-sensei, can we hear all the phrases one more time? Let's start with the casual situation.
久しぶり.
The next level of politeness,
久しぶりです.
and even more polite.
お久しぶりです.
Okay, on to the next grammar point.
Question word. どう?
How? In the dialogue, Mr. Matsuda asked Ashley about Japan.
日本はどうですか?
How's Japan? First we have
日本は
Japan and the topic marking particle wa. So,
日本は
as for Japan, this is followed by
どう
how
です
is
か
question marking particle. So literally we have as for Japan, how is. Of course, how is Japan?
So the pattern is such and such はどうですか?
How is such and such? For example,
東京はどうですか?
how's Tokyo?
ニューヨークはどうですか?
How's New York?
天気はどうですか?
How's the weather? So by using this sentence pattern, you can ask how someone is feeling towards a certain thing or about the state of a certain thing. Okay, Naomi-sensei, how do you say job in Japanese?
仕事
So, Naomi-sensei, 仕事はどうですか? How's your job?
大丈夫ですよ.
Only okay? Only 大丈夫?
Maybe I have to say とてもいいです.
It's very good. Good answer. Okay, let's recap with a quiz. The quiz will be multiple choice. We'll give you a question and 3 possible answers. Your job is to guess the answer. First question. Which of the following phrases is the most formal way to say, it's been a long time? A.
久しぶり
B.
久しぶりです
C.
お久しぶりです
The answer is?
C お久しぶりです
It has the polite prefix o and the polite form of the copula, des. Okay, next. Question 2. Which of the following phrases is the most formal way to say, I'm very sorry? A.
申し訳ございません
B.
すみません
C.
失礼します
The answer is?
A 申し訳ございません
C. 失礼します means excuse me. すみません can mean excuse me or I'm sorry, but 申し訳ございません is more polite.
そうです
This concludes this lesson. In the next lesson, you'll learn more business-related formal expressions. So, before you listen to the next lesson, be sure to review this lesson.
では皆さん失礼します
Listen to the entire conversation once again.
おはようございます。
おはようございます。9時に松田部長と約束があります。
お客様のお名前は？
ニューヨーク支社のアシュリーと申します。
申し訳ございません。もう一度お名前お願いします。
アシュリーです。
アシュリー・ジョーンズ様ですね。こちらです。どうぞ。
はい。
失礼します。アシュリー・ジョーンズ様です。
おー、 アシュリーさん、久しぶり。
お久しぶりです。松田部長、お元気ですか？
元気ですよ。アシュリーさんは？
はい、おかげさまで元気です。あ、これ、どうぞ。お土産です。
ああ、すみませんね。ありがとう。で、日本はどうですか？
Practice with the review track.
受付、
Reception.
う、け、つ、け、受付。約束、
Promise.
や、く、そ、く。約束。申します。
To be called, to say, must form.
も、う、し、ま、す。申します。部長、
Department head.
部、長、う。部長。久しぶり。
Long time no see.
ひ、さ、し、ぶ、り。久しぶり。
Good. Fine.
元気。げ、ん、き。元気。
Gift. Souvenir.
お土産。お、み、や、げ。お土産。
Branch office.
死者。し、しゃ。死者。おかげさまで。
Thanks to you. Thanks for asking.
お、か、げ、さ、ま、で。おかげさまで。
Lesson 14.
こんにちは、皆さん。元気ですか？
Hello, everyone. How are you? Did you check the lesson notes for lesson 13?
元気ですか？
Means, how are you? But in Japanese,
元気ですか？
is not used as frequently as how are you in English. We also learned the sentence structure,
something はどうですか？
as in,
日本はどうですか？
how is Japan? Now, in this lesson, you'll learn more useful expressions for business situations and learn the usage of the verb iku, which means to go.
like 日本に行く、日本に行きます。
I'm going to Japan. So, this lesson's conversation takes place at Nissan Automobile Company Limited. Now, do you remember? Ashley is visiting the headquarters of her company, Nissan, and is meeting Mr. Matsuda. 3 people are involved in the conversation. They are
アシュリーさんと松田部長と三岡玲さん。
Ashley, Mr. Matsuda, and a new character, Rei Mitsuoka.
三岡さんは松田部長の秘書ですね。
Ms. Mitsuoka is Mr. Matsuda's secretary. They're talking about Ashley's schedule for the day. Now, as this is a conversation at the workplace, you'll hear
formal Japanese.
For this lesson, we strongly recommend you reference conjugation lesson number 5.
三岡くんをお願いします。
失礼します。
アシュリーさん、こちらは秘書の三岡くんです。三岡くん、こちらはニューヨーク支社のアシュリー・ジョーンズさん。
はじめまして。秘書の三岡玲と申します。
アシュリーと申します。どうぞよろしくお願いします。
三岡くん、じゃあ、アシュリーさんの今日のスケジュールは？
こちらです。どうぞ。
10時から会議。12時に銀座キューベイに行くランチミーティング。1時半にイノベーティブランゲージラーニングに行く。プレゼンテーション。4時半に横浜工場に行く。見学。7時に横浜駅に行く。歓迎会。うわー、すごいスケジュールですね。
日本へようこそ。
One time slowly.
三岡くんをお願いします。
失礼します。
アシュリーさん。こちらは秘書の三岡くんです。三岡くん。こちらはニューヨーク支社のアシュリー・ジョーンズさん。
はじめまして。秘書の三岡レイと申します。
アシュリーと申します。どうぞよろしくお願いします。
三岡くん。じゃあ、アシュリーさんの今日のスケジュールは
こちらです。どうぞ。
10時から会議。12時に銀座久兵衛に行く。ランチミーティング。1時半にイノベーティブランゲージラーニングに行く。プレゼンテーション。4時半に横浜工場に行く。見学。7時に横浜駅に行く。歓迎会。うわー、すごいスケジュールですね。
日本へようこそ。
Now with the English translation.
Send Mitsuoka-kun in, please. I'm coming in. Ashley, this is Ms. Mitsuoka, our secretary. Mitsuoka-kun, this is Ashley from the New York office. Nice to meet you. I'm Rei Mitsuoka, the secretary. I'm Ashley. Nice to meet you. Mitsuoka-kun, do you have Ashley's schedule for the day? Here it is. Meeting at 10. Go to Ginza Kyubei at 12. Lunch meeting. Go to Innovative Language Learning at 1:30. Presentation. Go to the Yokohama factory at 4:30. Take a tour. Go to Yokohama Station at 7. Welcome party. Wow, what a schedule. Welcome to Japan.
日本へようこそ. Welcome to Japan.
Right. 日本, Japan. え is a particle that indicates direction. And ようこそ means welcome. So 日本へようこそ means welcome to Japan.
Yeah, but, Naomi-sensei, why is he saying it now?
Well, I think he's being sarcastic.
Ah, I see. So he gave her a very tight schedule and he said, Welcome to Japan. Now it's time to work hard.
そうですね. He's just like you.
So I think Mr. Matsuda has a lot of experience in dealing with foreigners.
そうですね.
And they do have a relationship.
はい.
Otherwise, chances are you probably won't hear this type of sarcasm and joking at a Japanese company.
そうですね. Probably not at the working place.
Things are kept a little more formal. So she has a pretty tight schedule. She has a meeting, a lunch meeting, a trip to Innovative Language Learning, of course, the name of our company.
そうです. Innovative Language Learning ですね. And she'll also go to 工場.
Factory. Naomi-sensei, can you say that word nice and slowly?
工場. 工場. There are two long vowels in there.
工場.
Right. And if you want to say factory tour, that would be 工場見学.
工場 is factory and kengaku is inspection or kind of like to observe and learn.
そうですね. So I think Ashley is doing 工場見学.
A factory tour.
はい.
And one more thing, we translated Matsuda Buchou as Mr. Matsuda because there's really not a good way to translate it into English. But this really means manager. So it's kind of like Manager Matsuda. Mr. Matsuda, the manager.
Right. In English, it's less common to call someone by their title or occupation.
Whereas in Japan, it's very common. Just like I keep calling Naomi as Naomi-sensei.
Teacher Naomi.
Okay, on to the vocabulary. First word.
秘書、
Secretary.
秘書、秘書。
Next.
はじめまして。
Nice to meet you.
はじめまして。はじめまして。
Next.
会議、
Meeting. Conference.
かいぎ。会議、
Next.
行く、
To go.
いく、行く。
Next.
ようこそ。
Welcome.
ようこそ。ようこそ。
Let's have a closer look at the usage for some of the words and phrases from this lesson. In this lesson, we have quite a few katakana words that come from English. Let's take a look at those. Naomi-sensei, what's first?
スケジュール、
Schedule. Next.
ランチミーティング、
Lunch meeting.
プレゼンテーション。
Presentation. As we mentioned previously in this Gengo series, Japanese has adopted quite a few English words. So that's a huge advantage for English speakers once your ear gets tuned to the katakana words. Reading them is a bit of a different story. I sometimes have a little trouble even reading them. My mind instinctively wants to pronounce them correctly. Although the pronunciation may sound very different, most of the time though, you can guess the meaning. Let's hear them one more time and see if you could tune your ear.
スケジュール、
Schedule.
ランチミーティング、
Lunch meeting.
プレゼンテーション。
Presentation.
ピーター。
Peter. Next, we have a phrase.
はじめまして。
Nice to meet you. We introduced this phrase in Boot Camp Lesson 1.
はじめまして。
Is a phrase you use when you meet someone for the first time. If someone says,
はじめまして。
you can reply with,
はじめまして。It's quite simple.
next word please,
会議、
meeting, conference. Now, we've just introduced,
ミーティング。
which is also meeting. Naomi-sensei, what's the difference?
Well, I would say 会議 sounds far more formal and serious, whereas meeting sounds a bit more casual.
So, kaigi is more like a conference than a meeting.
そうですね。
Okay, next word.
こちら、
This direction. This is the formal way to say kore. This, the word kochira, can be used to refer to someone that you're introducing to someone else. Kochira is covered in the grammar section of lesson 10. In the dialogue, Mr. Matsuda said to Ashley,
こちらは秘書の三岡くんです。
This is Mitsuoka, the secretary. Now, there's a lot of Japanese business culture behind that sentence. First, let's break down the sentence.
こちらは、
This direction, plus the topic marking particle wa. So, as for this direction,
秘書の三岡
Secretary Mitsuoka.
くん
Polite suffix, Mr. or Ms, referring to a subordinate.
です。
Polite form of the copula, the Japanese equivalent to the English verb to be. So, literally, as for this direction, Secretary Mitsuoka is. Of course, in natural English, this is Mitsuoka, the secretary. Now, in English, we would say this is Ms. or Mr., depending on the gender. However, in Japanese, just from the suffix alone, either in the case of kun or san, there's no way to know.
Yeah, usually くん is used for men.
Yes. So that's one hint with this suffix. But in this case, it's used for a woman.
Right. You might hear くん in a situation where a male boss is referring to a female subordinate.
Now, there's one more cultural point that we want to cover. Naomi-sensei, if Mr. Matsuda was introducing Ms. Mitsuoka to a client or people outside the company, what would happen?
That's a good question. I don't think he would add くん or さん to her name. Also, he wouldn't use こちら. So he would probably say, これは秘書の三岡です.
This is Mitsuoka, the secretary. Now, in the lesson notes, there will be a short write-up about this, so please make sure to check it out. In Japanese, there are some complicated rules in the business world, but for now, just remember the basic sentence pattern for introducing somebody as
こちらは so and so さんです.
This is Mr. or Ms. So-and-so. Can we have an example?
こちらは豊田一郎さんです.
This is Mr. Ichiro Toyota.
こちらはアシュリー・ジョーンズさんです.
This is Ms. Ashley Jones.
In a regular conversation, I would recommend that you use san as a suffix.
Very good advice. For now, stick to the sentence pattern we introduced you to. On to the grammar point. In this lesson, you'll learn two things. First, the difference between the dictionary form and the mas form of a verb. Second, the usage of the verb iku, which means to go. Naomi-sensei, let's start by explaining what the dictionary form and the mas form of a verb are.
はい。
First of all, a verb is a word that describes an action, such as go, come, or see. The verbs we've introduced so far have been in the mas form. For example,
違います。
to be different, lesson 3.
あります。
To have, to exist, lesson 6.
わかります。
To understand, to know, lesson 12. And the most famous,
お願いします。
to beg, to ask for. Now, these verbs all end in
ます。
because these are the mas forms of the verbs. However, in order to look them up in the dictionary, you need to know the dictionary form.
All the verbs in mas form have a corresponding dictionary form.
For example,
違います。
to be different is a mas form. The corresponding dictionary form is
違う。
arimasu, to exist, is a mas form. The dictionary form is
ある。
wakarimasu, to understand, is a mas form. The dictionary form is
わかる。
every mas form has a corresponding dictionary form.
そうです。In many cases, the dictionary form is used when speaking casually or informally in Japanese, and the mas form is used when speaking formally in Japanese.
So many times, the mas form is referred to as polite Japanese. And a lot of times, many textbooks start out with this. Although it's less practical, it's important you don't make a mistake with the politeness level, because in doing so, you may offend somebody. Now, there are certain rules for changing a verb from its mas form to its dictionary form. For more information about the conjugation between the mas form and the dictionary form of a verb, please see Conjugation Lesson 5. Okay, on to our next grammar point.
The usage of the verb 行く to go.
Now, iku, to go, is the dictionary form of the verb to go, which is used in informal situations. In formal situations, you should say
行きます。
which is the mas form, because of course it ends in.
ます。
So, can we have a sample sentence with a dictionary form?
Sure. 私は駅に行く。
I'm going to the station tomorrow. Now, this sentence with the dictionary form is what's used in informal Japanese. So this sentence is the type you would use when you're speaking with your friends. Now, let's break down this sentence.
明日、
Tomorrow,
私は
I in the topic marking particle wa,
駅
station,
に
particle that indicates movement towards a place. So,
駅に
to the station,
行く。
to go. So one more time.
明日、
Tomorrow,
私は
I,
駅に
to the station,
行く。
go. Literally, tomorrow, I to the station go. And of course, tomorrow, I'm going to the station. Or, I'll go to the station tomorrow. Now, as we mentioned, we're using the dictionary form here, iku. So this is informal speech, used when speaking among your friends or people you have a close relationship with. Now, if you want to say it formally, you replace
行く。
with
行きます。So, 明日、私は駅に行きます。
tomorrow, I'm going to the station. The meaning is exactly the same, but the formality is different. Ikimasu is more formal than iku.
And please note that the place that one is heading to is marked by the particle に。
So,
ニューヨークに行く。
to go to New York,
ロンドンに行く。
to go to London,
駅に行く。
to go to the station,
空港に行く。
to go to the airport. When the particle ni is used with iku, it usually indicates that one is going to a place with a purpose. So, for example, to go to the station, to catch the train, to go to the airport, to catch the plane. So let's use this again. How would you say, I'm going to the airport tomorrow?
明日、私は空港に行く。
I'm going to the airport tomorrow.
Of course, if you want to say it politely, that would be 明日、私は空港に行きます。
Nami-sensei,
はい。
it's okay to shorten this sentence by dropping the watashi wa, right?
そうですね。Right. Good point. When it's obvious that you are talking about yourself, you can drop the 私は part. So, 明日、空港に行きます。
Ashita means tomorrow.
はい。
This is referring to the time. Now, if you want to get more specific with the time, you can put that instead of the word 明日, right?
はい、そうです。But here's the tricky point. You need to add particle に after the time. For example, 1時に
At 1 o'clock.
2時に
At 2 o'clock. The particle ni has a lot of usages, but in this case, ni indicates time. However, relative time expressions such as 今日 today and 明日 tomorrow don't need the particle ni.
はい。
Particle ni is for kind of a specific point in time.
That's a good explanation.
Okay, can you say I'm going to the airport again?
空港に行きます。
Now, how about I'm going to the airport at 1?
1時に空港に行きます。
How about I'm going to the airport at 2?
2時に空港に行きます。
Okay, let's recap with the quiz. The quiz will be multiple choice. We'll give you a question and 3 possible answers. Your job is to guess the answer, okay? First question. Which of the following phrases is used when you meet someone for the first time? A,
はじめまして。
B,
いらっしゃいませ。
C.
ようこそ。
The answer is
えい、はじめまして。
both
いらっしゃいませ。
and
ようこそ。
mean welcome.
and はじめまして。
Means nice to meet you. Okay, next question. How do you say to go in Japanese? A,
わかる。
B,
ある。
C.
行く。
The answer is
see 行く。
to go.
わかる。
Is to understand,
ある。
to exist or to have.
そうです。
That concludes this lesson. In the next lesson, Ashley is going to a welcome party for her, and she's going to give a small speech in front of everyone.
So you'll review how to introduce yourself in a formal situation. じゃあまた。
Listen to the entire conversation once again.
三岡くんをお願いします。
失礼します。
アシュリーさん、こちらは秘書の三岡くんです。三岡くん、こちらはニューヨーク支社のアシュリー・ジョーンズさん。
はじめまして。秘書の三岡レイと申します。
アシュリーと申します。どうぞよろしくお願いします。
三岡くん、じゃあ、アシュリーさんの今日のスケジュールは？
こちらです。どうぞ。
10時から会議。12時に銀座キューベイに行くランチミーティング。1時半にイノベーティブランゲージラーニングに行く。プレゼンテーション。4時半に横浜工場に行く。見学。7時に横浜駅に行く。歓迎会。うわー、すごいスケジュールですね。
日本へようこそ。
Practice with the review track.
秘書、
Secretary.
秘書、秘書。はじめまして。
Nice to meet you.
はじめまして。はじめまして。会議、
Meeting. Conference.
かいぎ、会議。銀座、
Ginza.
ぎんざ、銀座。行く、
To go.
いく、行く。見学、
Inspection. Field trip.
けんがく、見学。
Welcome.
ようこそ。よ、う、こ、そ。ようこそ。
Welcome party.
歓迎会。か、ん、げ、い、か、い。歓迎会。
schedule,
スケジュール。す、け、じゅう、る。スケジュール。
lunch meeting,
ランチミーティング。ら、ん、ち、みー、ティン、グ。ランチミーティング。
presentation,
プレゼンテーション。プ、レ、ゼ、ン、テー、ショ、ン。プレゼンテーション。
factory,
工場。こ、う、じょ、う。工場。
Lesson 15.